So today we're getting janky with Juggernauts and gigantic gnomes, all with haste, all out of nowhere to take our opponents completely by surprise. You can't miss this one. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I'm doing something I've been wanting to do for weeks. Brace yourself, because today we're turning our humble, piddly little gnomes into enormous juggernauts and winning in one attack. So the main combo in this deck is built around Brilliant Restoration. This 7 mana sorcery is still in standard if you didn't know, but it returns all enchantments and artifacts from your graveyard to the battlefield, and let me tell you, Lost Caverns is loaded with artifacts. We're going to fill up our yard with gnomes and then unleash them all with a vengeance. But that's not all, we've got Nahiri's Resolve on our side, giving all our gnomes haste. This 5 mana enchantment is a real MVP, not only blinking all of our artifacts for added value, but also serving as a sneaky combo piece for a surprise win late in the game. Now let's talk about the pure filthy jank I'm absolutely in love with today, Graaz Unstoppable Juggernaut. This 8 mana artifact turns all creatures into juggernauts, and our 1/1 gnomes now become unstoppable powerhouses. It's going to be discarded early on, brought back late on with Brilliant Restoration for some maximum chaos. Now onto the gnomes, which we will dress up as our juggernauts. I've got Tinker's Tote. When this ETBs, you get 2 1/1 gnomes, plus you can easily get it into the graveyard by sacrificing it for a mana, and also get 3 valuable life. We have Thousand Moon Smithy, which makes a gnome when it ETBs, whose power and toughness are equal to the amount of artifacts and creatures you have. Both cards also work great with Nahiri's Resolve too. But let's not forget our unusual gnome today, Threefold Thunderhulk. It's a 0/0 gnome that enters with 3+1 counters that chucks out more gnomes based on its power when it enters a battlefield or attacks. We're literally going to have gnomes coming out of our ears. Discard wise, we've got Big Scores, which ramp 2, but Brass's Tunnel Grinder steals the show today. We are leaning heavy on this 3 mana artifact, as it lets us discard as many cards as we wish and draw even more. Forget the land mode today, we're here for the massive discard, and it works like a charm. Other artifacts include Market Gnome, a great value 0/3 creature that when it dies you gain a life and draw a card. Clayfired Bricks finds you a plains, gains you life, and ends up crafting into a Lord effect for all your creatures. And we're running Dusk Rose Reliquary. It's a 1 mana exile effect, but you must sacrifice an artifact to do so, and to be honest, we really want to be doing that when we can anyway. I'm running Sunfall and Depopulates to help maintain control until we combo off 25 lands, and that is today's deck. So for all of you off-meta players out there, Nahiri's Resolve and these new artifacts are a match made in heaven. There are endless possibilities based on your playstyle, and I am eager to hear your thoughts on that. But if, like me, you want to just unleash some massive Juggernaut gnomes, this list is pure joy. Just bide your time, control the board, and boom, 50 damage out of nowhere. I'm practically buzzing with excitement about this deck, so share your thoughts in the comments below, drop a like, and if you haven't yet already, smash that subscribe button. Your incredible support means the world to this channel, but get ready for some epic games with some crazy finishes, and I will catch you again next time. Alright then, on the draw, and hand looks fine. Could do with some more artifacts to discard with our grinder, but this was definitely a keeper. We do find our Smithy there. So we'll see if we want to play that or discard it. Opponent with Pia Nalar. So probably already know what kind of deck they're on. You get a lot of value from Pia and make a load of Thopters. So we will see how this gets on. We are still looking for our Brilliant Restoration, so we can discard as many cards as we want, but we really are going to need to find that along the way. And I'm going to play the Tunnel Grinder here and get rid of this Tinker's Tote and the Smithy and the land. And we don't draw a land. We do find a restoration though. So our hand is actually pretty nice. If we can use these Big Scores to get the Graaz into the graveyard, Tinker's Tote into the graveyard, we should be on for a combo here pretty quickly. We just need to just keep progressing the board, progressing our graveyard, and making sure that we are not dead. Sunfall in our hand is our sort of get out clause here. Opponent with a Dracosaur, so maybe we'll be using our get out clause sooner rather than later. Okay, we find a Reliquary, so we do need to deal with Dracosaur, that is the main issue here. And I don't really want to Sunfall or Depopulate. if I can help it. So we'll use the Reliquary here, and we'll sacrifice our bricks, get that into the graveyard as another target to bring back with our restoration. But most importantly, we get that Dracosaur into exile on our end, so they can't get value from it with Pia. So yeah, our graveyard looks pretty nice. We're kind of waiting for them to tap out slightly as well. They have got potentially instant speed removal for things like Graaz when it's on the battlefield, and that would be a little bit of a blowout. Okay, there's Nahiri's Resolve, and there's another Nahiri's Resolve. That is definitely a card we need for our combo. It gives everything haste. So we can either bring it back with the restoration or just have it on the battlefield. Might as well just play it. And we can also use it to, I guess, bounce our Smithy. So we might as well play this now as well. Or flicker our Smithy. So we'll make a gnome here. Opponent does have something. Okay, they have Get Lost on our Resolve. But you know what? That isn't the end of the world, because that's just a destroy spell. That isn't exiled. And we should potentially have lethal this coming turn. We'll see what they do. But they have a Appraiser into another Pia, so they're going to make a Thopter. Probably not their best draw there. Land. And they attack us. Alright, well, we're just going to go for this. Find a Bivouac. And I guess we might as well just tap our map tokens and the treasure. And yeah, let's just play our Bivouac. And we can just go to the Brilliant Restoration here. We have an awful lot we can bring back here. They may well have a removal spell for our Graaz, but we'll see how it goes. Everything's going to have haste, which is the important thing here. Everything has to attack. So you don't really want to be doing this until you absolutely have a lethal attack. And I'm pretty sure opponent's dead. Yep, they're dead, and that is exactly the combo we've been trying to achieve. Alright, on the play with our Brilliant Restoration JuggerGnome deck, and this hand has potential. We have combo cards here. We need to find a Nahiri's Resolve and get that into the graveyard or on the battlefield to give everything haste. It doesn't have to have that card, but it is important that the opponents can't Sunfall our board. That's one of the reasons I made this deck, was I like to be able to try and win on the spot, and the mass removal spells are always normally sorceries, so I like to try and win in one turn. Opponent with the Gala Greeters and Devilish Valet. Well, I appreciate that card. I've played that card more than most people have, and they get in there. So we go down to 17. So we're in a bit of a tricky situation. If they go Creature Gleeful Demolition, we're going to die. They need well, Market Gnome, yeah. So that's going to double the Valet and put a counter potentially on the Greeters. Yeah, so Gleeful Demolition would put the Valet up to 16 power and would be dead. Sticky Fingers, well, they could still have it. And they don't. Okay. All right, well, we've kind of swerved a bullet there. And the Sunfall is going to have to be used next turn. One thing I know about the Valet is it's pretty much game winning with the right cards in their hand. If I remember, I'll pop a link to my Valet deck that I've recently made with Throne. Can give additional triggers to the Valet, so it basically doubles the Valet's trigger. An opponent with a Beside You onto our Grinder, well, that's fine. Not too concerned about that card. But yeah, we had to Sunfall there. And we will just be setting ourselves up for the restoration. Opponent with a Jetmir, okay. Alright, well, we'll activate or we'll transform our Incubator token here. It'll be a 3-3. Oh, there's Graaz. We'll play our Resolve. You know, if we still had that Grinder on the battlefield, we'd be able to flicker the artifact to get the Smithy and the Juggernaut into the graveyard. That would have been sweet. But the Resolve does actually put a extra point of power onto our creature, so I'm definitely going to block Jetmir here. And it's another Jetmir, okay. Well, they are out of cards. There's Depopulate. I guess we'll just go for the Smithy, which we can flicker with the resolve to get another big gnome next turn. We'll hold this back on defense. I don't want to just play the Graaz and have it sort of exiled or anything like that. We'll just hold fire a minute because I'm pretty sure we got lethal from our graveyard anyway. Opponent is attacking with their Jetmir, which we'll take. And we'll get our creature back, which does have haste because of the resolve. And yeah, let's just Brilliant Restoration, and this got to be lethal. Graaz, a whole bunch of gnomes. Guess we can put the Graaz back into our graveyard. And I reckon we can even channel our Sokenzan to not make 2/1/1s. This is going to make 2 6/3s. And that is a massive win there. Pretty much out of nowhere. But that's exactly what our deck's trying to do. Appreciate they were trying to combo as well, but we got there. Alright, on the play in our janky Juggernaut Gnome deck. That's what I've been calling it, Juggernauts. This time we have a gnome, turn 1. We also have the bricks. In fact, our hand is pretty nice without a combo at all. So we'll see how this one goes. But the gnome, an 0/3, has a lot of value when it dies. Get to draw a card. And gain a life. And the Clayfire bricks here, great at gaining 2 lives in themselves. So these cards are pretty nice if you're playing up against something quick, like a mono red. And you're just trying to hang in there. Tunnel Grinder here, well, we'll discard our lands and the Smithy, one of them. Potentially draw in some goodies. And we find another Smithy, Depopulate, and a couple of lands. Not the worst, not the best. Opponent on an, I was going to say Orzhov, but it is Mardu. And Preacher of the Schism. Okay. Not too concerned about that card, you know. We'll drop our Smithy here. We'll start making some blockers. But I might not block this Preacher. Well, I guess I could block with the gnome, because we just kind of want our gnome in the graveyard anyway, and we'll draw a card. But the Preacher attacking may get to a point where we start discarding cards pretty much for free, which is kind of what we want. They did name Throne though, so I've got to be a little bit wary of their vampire synergies here. But we'll drop the Tinker's Tote, make a couple more creatures, and I'm going to just attack, because I feel like if they've got a removal spell, they're just going to remove the 8/8 anyway. So we'll just attack and see if we can get any kind of value out of it. I am expecting them to have a removal spell. They are playing these colours. But they block with their 1/1. And what is their follow-up play here? They have been thinking for a while. And it is a Crystal Grotto to scry to the bottom. Sure. So fingers crossed they just throw down all their creatures here, and then potentially we'll just depopulate. A couple of pings from the Epicure. And it is Markov Baron as well. Alright. So they have a large board now. We do have a couple of blockers, so it's going to save us. And yeah, we're just going to clear the board next turn. Depopulates and Sunfall, not a card that I think I particularly like to put in my decks, but it is kind of valuable in this particular deck where we are reliant on getting to 7 or 8 mana. It is important. So I am going to wipe the board here. And after all of this, we're still on 20 life. We've got a nice little graveyard growing. We've got some artifacts on the battlefield. We've got a Smithy in our hand. Smithy in the grave and a gnome there. Just need some more stuff in the graveyard. Opponent is going to get in there with their land though, so this is going to be 3 damage to us. They're going to gain some more life, up to 25. I've been having a lot of fun with this deck today. I've been trying to reanimate gnomes with the Graaz for a while now. Originally I had it in blue-white, but the issue I was facing was that the creatures would be reanimated and not have haste, which means they would just be board wiped. They were being board wiped, and not only just board wiped, but Sunfall would decimate some of my graveyard synergy. So I was playing against someone who had a Nahiri's Resolve in their deck, and I thought, well, that is the card I need. And also in red, you get to discard cards with this grinder, so that's what we're playing with now. But opponent is digging for something. They find an Infernal Grasp, okay. I guess that works pretty well when they're gaining a load of life. And there is an Evangelist. We can make some 1/1s here. This will boost the power of our 8/8. And we draw a Brilliant Restoration there. Okay, well, I guess we just go for it, don't we? We aren't necessarily going to win this turn because we don't have haste or anything. But we do make a couple of big creatures. We'll attack with the 13/13, the 2/1/1s. And then, yeah, opponent chumps with their bat here. They go down to 21. But we have a nice board here. Hopefully they don't have a board wipe. We will see what we're up against, and it is a blood token activation for our opponent. And they pass the turn. Alright, well, I think this turn I'm going to craft my clay-fired bricks. This is a part of the deck that is there. It's rare to actually have the opportunity to do this. But what this is going to do is give us the... forget the name of the card. I'll see it when it pops up. Cosmium Kiln, that's the one. It creates 2 more 1/1s, but it also gives all our creatures +1/+1. We'll attack with our board here, and I'm pretty sure this is lethal. If not, it's going to be very close to lethal. We'll have a look. Yeah, they go down to -3, so definitely transforming that artifact was important there. Alright, on the play with our janky deck. I think this is the jankiest deck I've been playing with since Lost Caverns of Ixalan came out. I've been spending a lot of time with the Roaming Throne, which I still love, but I really wanted to get this deck out there. So there's a couple of cards which could also be included in this deck if you didn't want to necessarily go the whole meme animate gnomes with the Juggernaut game plan. Nahiri's Resolve works really well with a few other artifacts, namely things like Combat Thresher, Steel Seraph. Fabric Foundry hasn't been able to be used on Arena, but I'm pretty sure it can be used now. That is a way to almost ramp. And then there's a few of the vehicles and artifacts from Lost Caverns that do extra damage when they enter the battlefield. So I really like the Nahiri's Resolve. There are so many potential opportunities with that card. But anyway, opponent here is on an Orzhov deck. They've played Life to Shiro, but we don't have any targets for them, so they've gained a few life. Hopeless Nightmare, making us discard as well. And we discarded our Thunderhulk. And Thunderhulk is a sweet card to have in the graveyard. It's kind of a plan B in our deck. Can do some massive damage with that. But I'm wondering if the opponent just has a load of removal in their hand. Gift of Fangs. Okay, that's gonna... I think that's -2/-2, but our creature stays alive. Playing a Disruption as well to pacify it. I really have no idea what we're up against here. Some of these cards I haven't actually seen before, but I don't know if they're trying to combo off here. But we'll big score, we'll put our Nahiri's Resolve into the graveyard, which is exactly where it wants to be. I really want to try and swerve things like Lord Skitter or Graveyard Trespasser. They're the kind of cards that would decimate our plan. We would remove them if they hit the battlefield because we seem to have a board wipe tribal hand going on here, which we certainly do not need any of these. We're not really under any pressure from our opponent's creatures. Just a 2/3 that is getting in there. So we find another Sunfall. Unbelievable. Well, let's just transform our artifact there. And I guess we just get in there for a 3 damage to our opponent using our Bivouac. I mean, we can just do that all game. So I'm pretty sure we may have lethal in our graveyard with the Thunderhulk and Tinker's Tote and giving everything haste. But the opponent does have cards in their hand. They do have open mana, so it's got to be a little bit careful. So I think in the meantime, we can just keep plugging away with our Restless Bivouac. Going to just clear the board here whilst we have the opportunity, and then next turn we can start hitting them with the Incubate token as well. So are they a discard deck? I'm really not sure what we're up against here. Another Hopeless Nightmare, okay. Sure. Okay, well, we'll get rid of Depopulate this time. Another card I had originally in this deck was actually Anim Pakal, the creature that churns out gnomes. But after a while, I wanted to play as lesser creatures as I possibly can, because I needed to just kind of nullify opponents' removal spells. I'm just going to keep jamming with these creatures. I mean, they have to deal with these. This is another 6 damage to them. They go down to 15. Guess they can sacrifice their Hopeless Nightmares to start scrying if they want to. And they are scrying 2 with one of them here. 2 to the bottom. Alright. Okay, well, next turn I'm probably just going to keep attacking with the land. And then we'll use the Brilliant Restoration to get us over the line when we need to. Opponent with a Phyrexian Arena, sure. And they are hovering over their card. So I'm wondering if it is a card. Well, I'm wondering if it's a removal because they're just holding it back, really. But we'll definitely get in there again. This time for 7 damage. Opponent will go down to 8. And they do. And it doesn't look like they have any instant speed stuff. So we're being a bit patient here. There's no point in playing the resolve. There's already one in the graveyard. They have 3 cards, and it's cooped up on our 4/4. Okay, so that's going to be pacified here. Chlorine Torment as well. I have really no idea what we're up against. But I think we have lethal just from our graveyard here. We go down to 8. And we find a big score. Alright, well, Brilliant Restoration here. This was our plan B on this particular game. Threefold Thunderhulk comes down, makes a whole bunch of tokens. And we are going to be attacking here for about 45 damage as the Thunderhulk plus a 2018 plus 5 3/1s is more than enough damage to take care of our opponent there. Okay, on the draw. Reliquary, Tinker's Toe. Okay, this hand is something to get behind. Opponent with a tramway station. Sure. And it is Unlucky Witness, okay. And we, I guess, yeah, that's not the card I thought it was. I thought that was a Clay-Fired Bricks there. But it's not. Opponent with Vran. Okay, so some kind of sacrifice deck, I would presume. Don't know how we're going to get on against like a nerdly deck like theirs, where we're going to get some damage here, some damage there. We will see. I did not expect a turn 3 of Nixilus though. Casualty in their Unlucky Witness. Okay, so they were off to a pretty good start here. But if they're going to make us start discarding cards, we will hopefully just discard our artifacts, which is exactly what we want to do anyway. We'll put a Smithy into the graveyard. So we find a Tunnel Grinder. Okay. Well, I guess what we can start off by doing is sacking our Tinker's Tote here to the Reliquary. Get rid of Vran. Unfortunately, this Reliquary doesn't take care of Planeswalkers. We can attack down one of the Ob Nixiluses. And, yeah, they let it go. And let's just chuck our Boros' Tunnel Grinder down, get rid of both our lands. See if we can draw into some gas here. It is a big score in a couple of lands. Okay, not the best, but not the worst. So yeah, still dodging things like Graveyard Trespasser. Opponent makes us discard. Well, we'll discard a mountain. And it is Shelly. Okay. Shelly, somewhat annoying in the fact that we can't really use our big score without taking a whole bunch of damage. So we'll play the gnome, and we're just going to depopulate here. Want to kill our gnome to draw a card. Gain a life. Another big score, okay. Alright, this game is not going particularly well for us, but a couple of good draws, and you never know. Another Shelly. An unlucky witness. Okay. Alright, well, we'll decline this time. Okay, Boros' Tunnel Grinder. That is another card that is going to make us draw cards. Yeah, we're pretty much facing death. I'm just going to play the Grinder here. I'm not going to discard any cards, but if anything, this is going to put something in our graveyard to activate our Grinder there. Then we can maybe start discovering into something better. And opponent is up in the Obnixilis, and we're just going to get rid of our resolve here. Okay, and they're going to get in there for 5. We're going to take 2 in our upkeep. I really don't know what we can do to get out of this. Just a gnome. Yeah, we're going to die anytime, I think. So we'll just play the gnome. I guess we'll just big score and we'll see what we would have drawn. Because opponent's definitely got lethal, obviously in our upkeep here. So we weren't that far away. We didn't have a brilliant restoration. I feel without this second Shieldwood we might have been okay. But let's see what we would have drawn anyway. This is going to kill us. Another big score and the Forge. Okay, fair enough. They got us. Turn 3 Obnixilis got us. Alright, on the draw. Okay, well, we have 2 brilliant restorations in our hand. A hand that's not particularly great, but I really don't want to pass a draw like this. There are 3 restorations in our deck, so I don't really want to pass up the fact that even though we've got 2 of them in our hand, the rest of the cards are not that great. Opponent with a Bramble Familiar, though. And it is a Kami of Whispered Hopes. Alright, well, they're going to have a decent amount of mana next turn, but they did miss a land drop. We find our Graaz, okay. Okay, this might be one of those games where we just hope that they overcommit to the board and we just Sunfall turn 5. Opponent with a Invasion of Zendikar, sure. So even though they've only found 2 lands this game, they currently have 6 mana next turn. We find a Smithy, which is cool because that is something we can do this turn. And it will stop them attacking down the invasion here. But, okay, they find a land, so they've got 7 mana here. And it is a Defiler of Vigor, okay. Reduces the cost of green spells, green creatures. So they've got a little bit of mana to work with. And an Augur of Autumn puts counters on the Kami. So they have so much mana next turn. Okay, well, I'm just going to Sunfall. It's too much for us to handle on the board there. Opponent nices us. Not sure if that was a sarcastic nice or what. They do find a Gruff Triplets. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to Sunfall again. Not what I want to really be doing. I don't really know what else we could have done then. But we do have a Brilliant Restoration and the Graaz in our hand. But with Green Sun's Twilight, okay. Card I actually own a physical copy of. I've never played it on Arena or in real life. But they just find a Kami, so we kind of maybe swerved a little bit of a bullet there. And there is a Graaz in our graveyard. So not the greatest graveyard here. So let's just get in there with our 9 power incubation tokens. I guess this is a upside of having a Sunfall in our deck, as we have some more artifacts to attack with. Opponent is down to 9. And yeah, we can bring the Graaz out next turn. That would make everything be a 5/3 base power and toughness. And with the counters on the incubation tokens, that should be pretty nice. It is O'Hare for our opponent. So one thing about Graaz is you have to attack with your Juggernauts. So if you play it pre-combat, you're going to be attacking. The other thing to do is to wait till your second main to bring it out of the graveyard. Okay, opponent nicest. They like that. They are going to have to chump our 11-9. They go down to 1. We do have a 7-5 on the battlefield. I don't mind if this goes to the graveyard because we can just restoration it back out anyway. They do attack with their 6-5, so they're going to look at one card from the top of their library, their library, and put a land or a creature from it onto the battlefield. It's just a Hunter's Maze. Another Defiler, and yeah, we have lethal here. We can just attack with a Bivouac, I think, and go round their blockers here. So a nice little win here against mono green. The 2 Sunfalls definitely coming in handy at exactly the right moment for us there.